Trump and his MAGA supporters not only embrace political violence, but they laugh about it. At his rally, he jokes about an intruder whipped up by the big Trump lie, taking a hammer to Paul Pelosi's skull and echoing the very same words used on January 6th. Where's Nancy? And he thinks that's funny. He laughed about it. What a sick... My God. I think it's despicable, seriously.
That was a fired up President Biden during his commemorative January 6th speech this past January. Did anyone else feel the urge to finish the president's sentence for him? I know I did. In fact, I might have. My name is Suri Crowe, and you are listening to the MeidasTouch Network. Recently, Politico magazine reported that according to White House sources, behind closed doors, President Biden can get pretty salty when it comes to the topic of Donald Trump. In an excerpt from the article, it reads, quote, "In private, he doesn't stop short. The president has described Trump to longtime friends and close aides as a, quote, sick fuck who delights in others' misfortunes, according to 3 people who have heard the president use the profane description. According to one of the people who has spoken with the president, Biden recently said of Trump, quote, what a fucking asshole the guy is." I can't say that I disagree. Here's Jonathan Lemire, one of the reporters on that article.
The White House officially declined to comment on this story. They certainly didn't dispute it. But others in the Biden camp were very pleased to hear this come out because they say, look, the president is simply saying what a lot of Americans think.
This is a good story because it's just an obvious story. And you look at good stories within Washington or what people are talking about, but hasn't really broken out. And of course, Biden is calling Trump a sick because he is. Who has not basically by this point called Donald Trump that? So it's pretty obvious and pretty unsurprising.
I think it's relatable. I mean, Biden's running for president. I think, he wants to be as relatable as possible. And there are a lot of Americans out there who probably see this as pretty cathartic.
I agree. It does feel relatable and strangely cathartic to know that the president feels the same anger and disgust that so many of us do when it comes to insult after injury from Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, when he was commander-in-chief, refused to visit a cemetery, U.S. cemetery outside of Paris for fallen American soldiers. And he referred to those heroes, and I quote, as suckers and losers. He actually said that. He said that. How dare he say that? How dare he talk about my son and all of us like that? Look, I call them patriots and heroes. The only loser I see is Donald Trump.
And this is a personal issue for President Biden. He blames the burn pits in Iraq for his son Beau's death. Beau Biden died of brain cancer shortly after returning from military service in Iraq. Now, in 2020, The Atlantic reported on what then President Trump was saying about service members on a trip to Paris, where he was scheduled to visit the venerated Marine Corps cemetery, Belleau Wood. But according to The Atlantic, Trump rejected the idea of the visit because he feared his hair would become disheveled in the rain, and because he did not believe it important to honor the American dead, according to 4 people with firsthand knowledge of the discussion that day. In a conversation with senior staff members on the morning of the scheduled visit, Trump said, quote, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers." In a separate conversation on the same trip, Trump referred to the 1,800 Marines who lost their lives at Belleau Wood, quote, as suckers for getting killed. Trump also called war hero and former POW and the late Senator John McCain a loser for getting captured by the North Vietnamese.
He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured.
I gave him the kind of funeral that he wanted, which as president I had to approve. I wasn't a fan of John McCain.
I figured there would be a chance that I would catch it. Sometimes I'd be in groups of, for instance, Gold Star families. They come within an inch of my face sometimes. They want to hug me and they want to kiss me.
Obamacare is a catastrophe. Nobody talks about it. Without John McCain, we would have had it done. But John McCain, for some reason, couldn't get his arm up that day. Remember? He goes, that like that. That was the end of that.
Now you see why President Biden refers to Donald Trump as a sick. Oh my God. Senator McCain was a POW for 5.5 years. He could have been released earlier because he was an admiral's son, but he chose to stay with his fellow POWs until they could all be freed at once. And during that time of captivity, he was tortured, which left him with permanent injuries in his arms so he could not raise them over his head. Like, it just... First of all, he was my home state senator. I'm from Arizona, and a true American hero. I saw him in an airport once and just beelined for him at Reagan National to thank him for his service and sacrifice to our country. And he couldn't have been more gracious. He was a man who put service and country above himself. And that is exactly what Donald Trump, a draft dodger, hated about him so much. And Senator McCain, whether you agreed with his policies or not, was a man of honor and integrity. And so is Joe Biden, honor and service. In fact, Senator McCain's daughter, Meghan McCain, tweeted this out regarding the report of what President Biden is saying behind closed doors regarding Trump. She tweeted, "I continue to not understand why Biden's team keeps him so isolated, because him calling Trump a, quote, sick fuck is my favorite thing he's done in months and months. It's real, and we need more real from everyone in politics in general." One of the rare times I agree with Meghan McCain, but good for her.
That's precisely right. He believes that Donald Trump is a danger to democracy. He believes his behavior is despicable and un-American. It is a personal affront to what Joe Biden believes this country should be about. And in my reporting, we learned there were a few things in particular that really set him off behind closed doors and lead to those profane outbursts. You mentioned Charlottesville, when Donald Trump defended people on both sides of that racist riot. That is what led Joe Biden to run in 2020. The reports that Donald Trump confirmed by the January 6th committee that Donald Trump sat and watched the insurrection from a private dining room just off the Oval Office, cheering them on, even rewinding some of the most violent parts. His warm words for Vladimir Putin, which Biden believes is simply unpatriotic. And then the two examples you just played there. The mockery of fallen American soldiers, which for President Biden is deeply personal because his son Beau Biden was stricken and died of cancer soon after returning from Iraq. And then the scene where Trump laughs and makes fun of and floats conspiracy theories about the attack of Paul Pelosi. And this is something the president feels behind closed doors, and it is fueling this run. And this is why he has told close aides he feels like he is the one man to beat Trump. He's done it before. He can do it again.
And to that, I say, go on with your badass self, Dark Brandon. But what do you guys think? Do you find it refreshing that the president feels the same anger and disgust and allegedly says what so many of us are thinking, possibly saying about Donald Trump? Or do you find it offensive? Let me know in the comments. I love to read through them and see what the feedback is from you guys. Let me know. All right, my name is Suri Crowe. You are watching the MeidasTouch Network. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope to see you back here very, very soon. And I wish you peace.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.